Welcome to level 2 of the C exercises. We're now going to look at a chant exercise that we've looked at a lot if you've already done the vocal pyramid. It's taking the phrase, "How are you today?" and putting it to notes. If you haven't gone through the pyramid yet, we use this phrase, "How are you today?" because it's common, and if you use a phrase that you know well and know the intention, it'll help you connect to your resonance even more. So let's just start by saying it in a resonant place. How are you today? Feeling a push here in the obliques, push outwards, almost a leaning sensation, and a relaxed sensation in the front abs, like we did with the hey exercise. How are you today? Once you've done that, let's start where you normally feel comfortable and do the pitches that we did before in the vocal pyramid. How are you today? This is the first time we're going to really add meat to our sound from when we did the NG exercises or the sighs. And we do this afterwards because it's good to come from a light, supple breath rather than a heavy one. Another way of saying that is you don't want to come from under, but you want to come from over. Coming from under makes you push and adds tension in places you don't need. Whereas having a high, lighter breath helps you get over any issues that you may have and give you the most resonance you can have. How are you today? How are you today? Remember to have a lighter breath on the top, not pushing too much from the start, and then coming into the phrase and adding a legato connecting from the beginning to the end. How are you today? Now, once you start getting to a range where you may not be as comfortable, how are you today? See, I haven't warmed up yet, so I didn't quite get that high note. I was a little under. We can do a variation to trick us to getting to that high note. Now, this variation, the notes will be. If you've already watched the part about the upper voice in the vocal pyramid, we talked about how the issue to the high notes is almost always the note before. In this case, it's this note here. And so what this does here is it adds a bit of a higher note before the low note, so you can relax as you go down. And it almost tricks you into relaxing into that high note. And what it should sound like is this. How are you today? In a nice relaxed place, but still you will have the resonance even though it feels light. How are you today? And then you can start the first variation. How are you today? Now, if you do this one and then go into the first variation, you should feel a little lighter and it should have opened up everything. Then, let's move up again. How are you today? How are you today? And then keep doing that and going up until you can't really feel comfortable. Once you start to get at that cusp of uncomfortability, you don't want to push past that. These exercises are going to help you build to your high notes over time if you do them consistently. So you don't need to force it in one day. And some days you might be comfortable with higher notes than you were the other days and sometimes lower notes. Just notice that because overall you're going to extend your range. And once you notice that, just start to go down. How are you today? How are you today? How are you today? Keeping that resonant chant and keeping the activation in your obliques until you get all the way down. Once you've done that and you feel that you've comfortably been able to connect breath with vowels and resonance and with pitch, you should be able to move on to the next C exercise, level 3.